long time ago, in Igboland, there was a mystery that haunted many families. Children would be born, healthy and bright, but before they grew old enough to live full lives, they would suddenly fall sick and die. The same mother would get pregnant again, and the same child would seem to return, only to die once more. These children were called Ogbanje. Among the Yoruba people, they are known as Abiku. In Hausa tradition, they are called Danjiriri. Across West Africa, many countries, many communities believed in these spirit children who come and went, leaving behind only tears and sorrow. But what exactly were Ogbanje? People believed they were spirit beings tied to the other world by a secret object called Iyiwa. As long as that bond existed, the spirit child would keep coming back to torment its family. Only by finding and destroying the Iyiwa would the circle be broken. This belief was not just a story. It shaped how families understood sickness, death, and the mysteries of life they could not explain. It gave meaning to their grief, and it gave them hope that perhaps one day the cycle would be broken. The story you are about to hear is one of the most powerful of these tales. It tells how a mother named Nneka and her husband Obinna faced the pain of losing child after child until they discovered the truth about Ogbanje and the fight they had to take on to keep their daughter Adaeze alive. In an Igbo village called Umaka, there lived a young woman named Nneka. She was kind, hardworking, and beautiful. Everyone in the village liked her, but Nneka carried a heavy sadness in her heart. Nneka had been married for many years to a man named Obinna. He was a farmer, strong and gentle, and he loved Nneka deeply. The only thing missing in their lives were children. For years they prayed, visited healers, and made sacrifices, hoping the gods would bless them. Finally, their prayers were answered. Nneka became pregnant, and the whole village rejoiced with them. When the baby came, they named her Chimamanda, meaning, "My God will not fail me." She was beautiful, with bright eyes and a laugh that melted hearts. Nneka and Obinna were so happy, but their joy did not last long. Before Chimamanda reached her 3rd birthday, she suddenly became sick. The sickness came quickly: fever, weakness, then silence. Within days, the little girl was gone. Nneka's cries filled the compound. Obinna shaved his head in mourning. The entire village mourned with them. Nneka almost lost her mind with grief, but after some time, she became pregnant again. This time, she gave birth to a boy. They named him Chukudi, meaning there is God. He grew well, strong and playful, but just as he turned 4 years old, the same thing happened. A strange sickness came, and within days, the boy died. Nneka's world broke apart again. People began to whisper, "Maybe her womb is cursed." One woman said. "No," another replied. "This is the work of Ogbanje children." In Igbo belief, An Ogbanje is a spirit child. These spirits come from the land of the dead and are born into a family, and then die young, only to return again through another birth. They cause endless pain, coming and going, leaving mothers broken, leaving fathers sad and helpless. Nneka did not want to believe it. She prayed harder, fasted, and went to different healers. But when she had her third child, a girl named Oluebue, the same thing happened. She died before her 5th birthday. By now, even Obinna began to fear. "My wife," he told Nneka one night, "we must go and see Dibia Okeke, who was a great diviner. If these are Ogbanje children, only he can help us." Nneka agreed, though her heart was heavy. The next day, they traveled to the neighboring village where the old Dibia lived. His shrine was deep inside the forest, filled with carvings, cowries, and the smell of burning herbs. Dibia Okeke was an old man, his hair white like cotton, his eyes sharp like an eagle. When they arrived, he listened to their story quietly. He closed his eyes, then threw his cowries on the floor and chanted for a long time. At last, he spoke. "You are not cursed, Nneka. Your womb is not cursed. But the children you have been carrying are not ordinary children. They are Ogbanje spirits. They belong to the world of the spirits, not to you. They only came to play with your heart and then return to where they came from." Nneka began to cry. "Dibia, please help us. I cannot bury another child. I cannot." The old man nodded. "There is a way. Every Ogbanje child has an Iyiwa, a secret object that ties them to the spirit world. It could be a stone, a bead, a doll, a pot, or even a piece of cloth buried somewhere. Until this Iyiwa is found and destroyed, the spirit will keep coming back. We must make the child confess where it is hidden." Nneka and Obinna left the shrine with heavy hearts. A few months later, Nneka became pregnant again. Fear and hope lived inside her at the same time. When the baby came, it was another girl. She was so beautiful that people nicknamed her Adaeze, the daughter of a king. But Nneka's joy was mixed with fear. Would this one stay? Or would she be like the others? For the first 3 years, Adaeze grew healthy and strong. She laughed, ran, and played. Nneka began to hope that maybe this child was different. But then, strange things began to happen. Sometimes Adaeze would speak words no child her age should know. Sometimes she would sing old songs that no one had taught her. One evening, as she sat in front of the hut, Adaeze laughed and said, "When I die, I will come back again, just like before." Nneka froze. The calabash she was holding slipped from her hand. "Adaeze," she whispered, "what did you say?" The little girl only smiled and ran off to play. That night, Nneka and Obinna could not sleep. They remembered the Dibia's words. This child was an Ogbanje. But if they could get her to reveal the hiding place of Iyuwa, maybe they could break the cycle. The next morning, they called Dibia Okeke to come. He came with his cowries and chalk, and after some rituals, he sat in front of Adaeze. He looked at her straight in the eye and said, "Tell us where your Iyuwa is hidden." At first, Adaeze laughed, but then her eyes changed. Her voice became deeper, older. She said, "You will not find it. It is mine. I will always return." Nneka fell to the ground, shaking. Obinna grabbed his machete, ready to do anything. But the Dibia raised his hand. "Patience. The child will speak. We must not harm her." He began to chant, calling on the spirits, throwing his cowries, marking the ground with chalk. The air grew heavy. Adaeze began to cry, then laugh, then cry again. Finally, she pointed towards the forest. "It is there," she said, "buried under the big Iroko tree." Obinna's eyes widened. Nneka covered her face with her hands. The Dibia stood. "Take us there. Tonight, we must dig it up." That night, Nneka could not close her eyes. The words of her daughter kept echoing in her ears. "It is there, under the big Iroko tree." She lay on her mat, staring at the ceiling of the hut, while Obinna sat outside, sharpening his machete. The crickets in the forest sang loudly, and the night air was heavy, as if spirits themselves were waiting. By dawn, Dibia Okeke returned to their compound. He carried a small bag filled with his cowries, chalk, and herbs. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp as always. "Today," he said, "we will see if this child will remain in your world or go back to the spirits." Adaeze sat in the corner, playing with a small clay doll. She looked innocent like any other little girl. But when her eyes met her mother's, Nneka shivered. There was something too old in those eyes. "Child," the Dibia said softly, "take us to the place." Without hesitation, Adaeze stood, dropped her doll, and began to walk towards the forest. Her small legs moved quickly, her steps firm, as if she knew exactly where she was going. Nneka and Obinna followed closely behind, their hearts pounding. Other villagers, curious and afraid, joined them too. The path grew darker as they entered the thick forest. The tall Iroko trees stood like giants, their roots twisting out of the ground like snakes. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became. No birds, no crickets, only the sound of their footsteps. Finally, Adaeze stopped in front of a massive Iroko tree. She turned, her eyes dark and serious. "It is here," she said. Nneka clutched her wrapper, her knees weak. Obinna tightened his grip on his machete. The Dibia stepped forward, drew a chalk circle around the tree, and whispered prayers. Then he nodded to Obinna. "Dig." Obinna dropped to his knees and began to dig with his machete and bare hands. The soil was thick and heavy, and sweat poured down his face. After some time, his hand struck something hard. He paused, breathing heavily. "Here!" he shouted. The Dibia bent down and cleared the soil. Slowly he lifted a small, smooth stone wrapped in dirty cloth. As soon as the stone came out of the ground, Adaeze screamed. Her small body shook violently and she fell to the ground. Nneka ran to her. "Adaeze, my child!" But the Dibia stopped her. "Do not touch her. This is the fight between the spirit and the living. If you interfere, she may not survive." Nneka froze, tears streaming down her face. Adaeze's voice changed again. It was deeper, older. She shouted, "Give it back! It is mine! You cannot keep me here!" The villagers gasped and drew back. Obinna's heart almost broke in two, but he looked at the Dibia for guidance. The old man lifted the stone high. "Spirits of the earth, witness of truth, today we break this bond. Today this child belongs to her mother, not to the land of the dead." He smashed the stone on the ground. It cracked into pieces. Adaeze let out one final scream, then collapsed, motionless. For a moment, everyone thought she was dead. Nneka fell to the ground, wailing. But then Adaeze opened her eyes slowly. This time, her eyes were soft, childlike, and pure. She looked around in confusion. "Mama," she whispered weakly. Nneka grabbed her and held her tightly, crying. Obinna dropped his machete and knelt beside them, his tears falling freely. The Dibia nodded. "The bond has been broken. If she lives past tonight, she will remain. She will grow old in your hands." The villagers shouted in joy, praising the Dibia. But deep inside, Nneka's heart still trembled. She had her daughter back, but she wondered, would the spirits truly let go so easily? That night, the compound was filled with singing and prayers, but everyone celebrated. Adaeze sat quietly under the moonlight, staring at the sky. When Nneka approached her, Adaeze smiled faintly and said, "Mama, the spirits are angry. They will not forgive me for staying." Nneka froze. "What do you mean?" The girl touched her mother's face and whispered, "They will come for me in my dreams. If I wake up tomorrow, then I am yours. If not," she paused, then looked away, "then I will be back to them." Nneka's chest tightened. She held Adaeze close, refusing to let her go. That night, Nneka did not sleep. She sat by Adaeze's mat, watching her daughter breathe. The room was dark, the only light coming from a small oil lamp. The child slept peacefully at first, but then her body began to twitch. She turned from side to side. her small hands clenching. Suddenly, Adaeze let out a cry. "No! Leave me alone!" Her voice shook the room. Nneka panicked. "Obinna, she's fighting them in her dreams." Obinna rushed inside, his machete in hand, though he knew no blade could cut spirits. The Dibia, who had decided to stay in their compound for the night, stepped in quickly, sprinkling chalk and herbs around the room. He shouted, "Child, fight! Choose life! Choose your mother!" Adaeze's body shook violently, her eyes rolling. Sweat poured down her forehead. She whispered in a trembling voice, "They are calling me. They are pulling me." Nneka fell on her knees crying, "Chukwu, please do not take her again." The air grew heavy, as if the entire room was filled with invisible hands. Adaeze gasped, then screamed, and then silence.